Mike, of course, we spent a lot of time yesterday unpacking the amended lawsuit from Brian Flores, in which former Cardinals coach Steve Wilks, former Titans assistant Ray Horton joined him as plaintiffs.
Yeah.
Also joining as defendants are the Cardinals, the Titans, and the Houston Texans. More allegations against Stephen Ross as it relates to him withholding severance pay. The Texans for not hiring Brian Flores and instead going with Lovie Smith as retaliation for filing a lawsuit. Of course, the Mike Mularkey side. So we're still processing all of this, and who better to process it with than our good friend Shalise Manza Young from Yahoo Sports, from our New England Patriots days. It's a big old family reunion here. I just saw Shalise in New York. Shalise has obviously been out front and outspoken when it comes to this issue of black coaches. Wondering what your major takeaway was from the amended lawsuit that we learned of yesterday, the new plaintiffs.
I think first and foremost, I was glad. We knew it was coming. There had been reports for a little while it would be only two men, but there's strength in numbers. Up to this point, it's been easy to paint Brian Flores as just like a bitter black man who was upset that he lost his job. And it's harder to do that when more and more men join the class. So first and foremost, just not relief necessarily, but again, there's strength in numbers. If one person makes an accusation, you can work overtime to try to discredit them. But if three people are making similar accusations, it becomes harder to do that. And the Mike Mularkey thing is amazing.
Critical. I was saying yesterday, it's up there with Bruce Arians. Skepticism aside, Michael Holley, I was saying it's being an intentional and deliberate ally or accomplice even, and really putting words to it. And again, the fact that he was not prompted to offer that anecdote, which is like, hey, any regrets in your career? And he picked that one. I mean, that's critical. Amazing. Go ahead, Michael.
It really was something. No, I was going to say, and as you both know, Shalise and Michael, the NFL has a pattern when it comes to controversy. When there's controversy, particularly when it comes to black folks and women, the first thing is to say, no, that didn't happen. We didn't do that. We didn't do that. Mm-hmm. It's cover their ears, cover their eyes, cover their mouths. Oh, no. This is baseless. This is not true. Then there's usually some type of program, some type of Band-Aid that the NFL throws out there. This is just in a vacuum. It's not connected to anything that we've been accused of. We were just thinking about a program for diversity. We were thinking about this. And then the next step is generally some type of settlement, quiet settlement that usually doesn't match the intensity of the original complaint. So concussion settlement, Colin Kaepernick settlement. So that's a long way of saying, Shalise, do you think that the NFL, because now more people are talking, as you said, strength in numbers with Brian Flores, do you think the NFL will attempt to settle something with Brian Flores and now Steve Wilks and Ray Horton? Because the more people start talking, intentionally or unintentionally, the more uncomfortable this thing is going to get.
I think they can attempt to make a settlement with them, but as I started feeling it before, and then Mike and I got to talk to Flo in person at that summit in New York City that we went to a couple of weeks ago, and it strengthened my resolve. Flo is not the one. I think he is in this to the end. I don't think that the NFL can put him in a room and say, hey, look, here's a blank check. Tell us how many zeros you want on it. I don't think, I think he has the spine and he is made for this fight. And I hope that's what it happens. Of course, everyone has a price. I was talking to a friend the other night and he was not wrong when he said that. Everyone does have a price, but I don't think it's going to be so easy as just saying, Brian, what about 60 million? What about 125 million? I don't think it's as simple as that. I really think that he has seen over the years, he's experienced it himself over and over again, that coaches that look like him do not get a fair shake. They are asked to do these interviews that are complete sham interviews, and he doesn't want it to happen anymore. He knows he himself is a very capable coach. He knows Steve Wilks and Ray Horton and numerous other coaches are capable coaches who just happen to be Black, and they keep being excluded from the hiring by NFL owners and team presidents and GMs.
And that's just one issue that the league is confronted with. One set of chickens coming home to roost. The other one is, of course, the letter from the 6 attorneys general, led by Letitia James in New York, where, of course, the NFL office is located, taking the league to task and offering to put the full weight of their offices, their collective offices, behind any investigations, if not prosecutions, when it comes to mistreatment and discrimination in accordance with any minorities, but specifically along gender lines. What would you take away from that letter and some of those revelations that, of course, were also reported in the New York Times, I believe, in February?
My first thought, and I actually wrote this, I guess, on Wednesday, is I wonder if we could ever get Roger Goodell to tell the truth about something. Does he regret not handling the Daniel Snyder situation correctly from the beginning? Because look at all of the things that have happened since, what was it, like July 4th last year, when they just threw out a 4-paragraph statement and said, oh yeah, Daniel Snyder, you know, he's not gonna be around the team for a little bit. We're fining the team $10 million. As to what happened, well, we're not gonna tell you that. And look at what's happened since. The women who were victims of that culture have been on Capitol Hill and told their stories. People who supported them were on Capitol Hill and told their stories. The congressional investigation into the Commanders is going far beyond what was happening in terms of sexual harassment of female employees. And now they're looking at the books. And the New York Times story came out in terms of what was happening in league offices. My first thought was, I wonder if he now is like, damn, like if I had just handled, even if you had given us 1/10 of what you found in those 600,000 emails, in those hours long of investigation and interviews and all those things that they did, I wonder if he's like, okay, I screwed this up. It's so hard to see this happen over and over again, to the point where I'm almost tired of writing about it, because I feel like I'm writing the same column over and over again. If you're a woman, they do not care what happens to you. They just don't. And if you're a black coach, you know, this new low-level offensive coach, it puts me in a weird position because, of course, you know, I would love to see more women coaching football, but it doesn't express the anti-black hiring practices that are systemic in the NFL. They made it a blanket thing where it has to be somebody from any marginalized community or any, you know, minority ethnic community, not specifically to address the lack of black coaches, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Right. We're going to get to some good news for black folks in a moment. But first, and I fear bringing this up because y'all may gang up on me. I mentioned off top our New England roots. We all go back to covering and writing about the Patriots, of course. I might be naive, Shalise. Michael, not only does he believe that Tom Brady's hands are all over Bruce Arians going upstairs in Tampa, but I'll speak for Michael. He absolutely believes in this Brady to the Dolphins with Sean Payton, but for Brian Flores' lawsuit. I'm like, that's just too many moving parts for me, but maybe I'm slow. Okay. You know, he didn't get it, but now he got it. But now he got it. You know, maybe I'm just so Shalise, like, you know, you're a little slow, but now he got it. We're gonna move forward amicably. So Shalise, like, what say you to what Brady was reportedly or allegedly trying to do during that 40-day hiatus?
So you guys know there's nobody more plugged in that I know of than Charles Robinson, our boy C. And C said on the Yahoo podcast yesterday, he thinks in an educated way that there is something to that report, that Brady's trying to manufacture, you know, this Miami thing. It seems crazy. But, you know, Stephen Ross, they share that Michigan tie. And if you're going to own something, you may as well own part of an NFL team, because at least for now they print money. But the thing with Arians, it's just so like, without him actually coming out and giving a definitive thing, because I don't think he's done a real interview, until him coming out and saying, you know what, I sat at home And after talking to Giselle and after talking to my kids, and I really just had that ache. And he hasn't said that yet. So you're just leaving the door open. Yeah, you're leaving the door open for us to be conspiracy theorists and to say, if you look at the timeline, he retired, then all of a sudden he unretires, and then a week or two later, Bruce Arians is like, hey, I'm leaving, I'm retiring too. There's a little smoke there.
Yeah. Real quick. It also circles back to the Brian Flores question, because like, if this is what Stephen Ross had up his sleeve and would have done this but for Brian Flores' lawsuit, circumvented the Rooney Rule again, then add this to the pile of evidence not that they need any more, but to support the lawsuit. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike, I was just going to say this. Remember, you mentioned a John Singleton movie earlier. Let's go to another John Singleton movie. Let's go to Higher Learning. Remember, they're walking on campus. Cops say,
"Show me your ID.
Let me see your. Let me see your ID. Okay, let me see your phone." Stephen Ross, I want to see your communication, because the story is right there. Stephen Ross has been sloppy. Like Brian Flores got it. That's one of his great receipts, where he is emailing in December of 2019 saying, the owner is putting me in a really difficult position here where it's toxic. He called it toxic. And then the Dolphins tried to turn it around when they fired him, saying the workplace is toxic. Yo, don't be taking my words. Yeah, I said that about y'all. I said it about y'all.
Got the
so
nerve.
I feel like there's something there. Get Ted Wells on Stephen Ross and the Miami Dolphins.
And there's more from, as Shalise knows, there's more from Brian Flores' counsel. But listen, let's move on to some good news. Because like I said to Michael yesterday, we are taking a page from Senator Cory Booker's book, and we ain't letting nothing steal our joy and nothing distract us from this moment that we're in. I'll put it to you like this, or ask it to you like this, Shalise. How full has your heart been since yesterday, and how celebratory has your household been since Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson was confirmed 53-47 as the first black woman justice in the 232-year history of the United States Supreme Court? Shalise?
It's just, I saw the tweets, and I just got tears in my eyes yesterday when I saw, I was on Twitter and I clicked over to C-SPAN and I saw it was 53-46 and they were waiting for that bum Rand Paul. But once it got to that 53, it was done. And I cried, I cried because you think about, what did Malcolm X say? The most neglected person in America is the black woman.
Unprotected, yes. Unprotected,
neglected, all of those things. And here is this black woman. And the other thing for me is, I have my little frohawk here. She wears her hair proudly. She is rocking her crown proudly. And it's a smaller thing in the bigger picture of her achievement. But for us black women, we just last week saw the Crown Act passed in Congress. It just happened again here in Massachusetts. And I think of those twin girls in Malden, Massachusetts, who fought to have the Crown Act passed here in Massachusetts. But look at her hair and look at that. We can go, I have 3 daughters, you all have daughters, that we can go to our daughters and say, not only can you achieve whatever you want to achieve, but you can achieve it with your hair. It's not unprofessional. You do not have to chemically treat it. It is beautiful as it is. You are beautiful as you are. And look at the things that we can do. And it was, my mother is 72 and I texted her and, she said, I can't believe it. I never thought I'd see the day. And I'm sure you all had similar, and just, it really is. It's amazing that we can look at our daughters now and it's just one more thing. My daughters, we have a couple of books about Mae Jemison, who was an astronaut. And we have, Bessie Coleman, another joyous black woman news this week. Bessie Coleman's getting a commemorative quarter. So, to be able to look at our daughters and say, it doesn't make the road necessarily easier, but it does mean that you can get to that destination.
Amen. Amen. That absolutely right. And, that's well said, Shalise and Michael. I'll just say this to you guys, just thinking about this, today, April 8th is my grandfather's birthday. Now he passed many years ago. He passed in 1987. But you think about, he was born in the early 1900s outside of Selma, Alabama. Mm-hmm. He was a sharecropper. He escaped the sharecropping system there. And I say that word intentionally, escaped, because a lot of people that was a great migration. He was part of that generation. Got to get out of here because this is such an oppressive system. It is a soul-killing, physically body-killing system in a lot of ways. Lynching was the order of the day. He was able to escape Selma, Alabama, and go to Ohio. And to see this day, I mean, I really believe when a lot of old preachers say that we are the answered prayer of a slave's answered prayer, a sharecropper's answered prayer. And Ketanji Brown Jackson is that. It's an answered prayer from some of our ancestors. So this is really beautiful to see. It's
amazing. And I always think of that picture. I believe it was a young Black female photographer who took that now iconic picture of one of Ketanji's Justice Jackson's daughters looking at her during the confirmation hearings, and just the love and the pride that she had. And as a parent, you dream of seeing a picture of your own child looking at you like that. But, it's just beautiful. And yes, I gotta say, I think Cory Booker's a little bit corny sometimes. That's part of his thing. But right, I was actually on the train ride home from New York City when we saw each other, Michael, in that symposium, and I was watching the video of what Senator Booker said to Justice Jackson that day, and I got tears in my eyes because it's so infrequent, that we see, especially when you contrast it to the BS that she had to deal with from the other side. But for him to be so proud and defending her, and you deserve to be here, you belong to be here, and it was affirming for all of us in a way. He was speaking to her, but he was also speaking to me. The emails that I've gotten over the years about, oh, you're nothing but an affirmative action hire, as if a legacy sports section like the Boston Globe would hire a Black woman to cover the New England Patriots just to fill a quota, and that I hadn't earned it. It was affirming for me in that way, that, he knows the struggle, and, she obviously has reached far greater heights, and will be far more influential than I am. But, it's still, with so many Black women who have reached a certain level, there's always people who are questioning, why are you there? And you're only there because you're, somebody felt like they had to hire, a Black or brown face. Not ever that you could have earned it, to bring it all full circle with Brian Flores and that lawsuit.
Exactly. Speaking of ancestors celebrating from the beyond, amen is right. My grandfather, my pastor grandfather, he taught me, and I know better than to preach when somebody's offered a word. We're done. Thank you, Shalise. I'm not following that. There's nothing for me to say. Between you and Michael, y'all have covered it. There's no reason for me to speak after what you just gave us. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Good to see you.
Keep shining. See y'all soon.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.